Hi, folks. Welcome to Writings, Chats, and Friends. And today, Monica Brinkman, my co-host, and I have the great pleasure of being joined by one of our favorite authors, Melissa Price. And Melissa's been on our show a number of times because she's prolific and wonderful and funny and a dear friend. And she happens to have a new book out, also, as most of hers are from Bella Books. And it is this book right here. It's called The Right Closet. And it's everything in this, Melissa, right? Even to your subtitle, is just wonderfully full of puns and quips. And so I'm going to just tell you, folks, the subtitle of this is Politics Can Be a Drag. And I don't know, should I call him the hero or the heroine of the book?
The shero.
The shero, okay.
The hero, okay.
The shero of the book is a person who is actually a noted drag performer, queen.
Oh, she would hate if you called her that. She would say, "Excuse me, I am cream of the crop, Puerto Rican drag queen diva extraordinaire." And
biggest diva ever, right?
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing. So this great subtitle, Politics Can Be a Drag. Now, the whole thing is just, it's hilarious, folks. I have to, I read it and I just, I'd sit here just chuckling. My wife would come in and she'd say, what are you laughing at? And I just hold the book and say, I'm reading it again.
You know what? Writing it and being in public is worse, because I would read some of the pieces for comedic effect. Mm-hmm. And if they made me laugh, they stayed in. And if they didn't make me laugh, they hit the highway. And so I sat in coffee shops laughing to laughing out loud alone. That was fun.
Now, one of the things that is about the shero is the character they play, okay, which is, who's the famous character that they're playing, that it's all played around?
Well, it took a long time of research in person in San Francisco, in the back room before the drag queens took the stage, to formulate who Crema modeled herself after. And it's Cher. It's just Cher, the ultimate diva. And, it's interesting. Some of the drag queens that I had met, I would say, "Excuse me, hi, I'm an author, I'm a gay woman. I'm really trying to capture this Latino drag queen." And the very first question every drag queen asked me was, "Who is she modeled after?" And as soon as I said Cher, it was like I had to get their stamp of approval, because all of them went, "Oh, that's good. We like that. Okay, good." So I'm like, all right, Cher it is.
Yeah, and it's really very funny, because there is one point, of course, she has a backup crew, and they're all supposed to be imitating Cher. And
you're talking about Cherapalooza, the All Cher review.
Right. And there's one, and she spent all this money to get this piece of paraphernalia, but it's not real.
Well, that Crema didn't do that.
No, not Crema. One of
the other characters.
I can't remember if it was Sharena, Sharella, Sharmiqua, Sherlonda, Shergarita, or Toots.
So, folks, you have to read the book to find out which one it was.
That's right.
But I thought that attention to detail, that you went into that guy. I mean, that's part of the hallmark of your writing, that you get the details, so that your reader gets into the book. If you feel it's more real when you get that kind of detail.
I hope so.
I love that
My-
you make us laugh.
You know,
We
I
all
was
need that
writing.
right now.
And to your point, Monica, my first two books, as you know, I coined the term lesbianage because I was writing romantic spy thrillers, and they were gritty and they were kind of heavy, and the characters were meaty. But then the 2016 election happened, and after taking the pillow off my face after 2 weeks, couldn't talk to anyone, couldn't go anywhere. I woke up one morning and I said, okay, babe, you can't do this for 4 years.
No.
So you gotta write the next book. And that became Smile Number 7, which was my first just straight up romance.
Mhm.
And
By the way,
reason-
folks, let me interrupt just to, we do
Yeah.
have Monica, I believe, a trailer for Smile Number 7 to follow
Yes.
this. Oh, just to remind you folks, because of course Melissa was on the show to discuss Smile Number 7, which was a great book, fun, set in the West, set in Hollywood, set, horses and Russell, all that great stuff. And this one, of course, is a totally different setting, because this time, although your characters start out in San Francisco,
yes,
they don't end, well, they end up back there, but I mean, the most of the book takes place in
San Juan, Puerto Rico. But back to the reason for these books. So I come off these two heavy duty stories, and after the 2016 election, I said to myself, if I write another spy book, I'll need medication. So I've got to show up to the computer every day to something that's happy and that feels good, and it's filled with love and angst of love. And that became Smile Number 7. Well, then in the middle of those 4 years, from 2016 to 2020, is when I was writing The Right Closet. And the same phenomenon occurred. I said, now it can't just be sweet, nice happiness that I need to see every day. Now I need to tackle some of what happened, what's happening. And it was not okay with me to take it on in a serious manner, because we were so inundated with this heaviness. And then the pandemic, that I said, that's it. All bets are off. People have to laugh, and so do I. And that's where it came from.
And I think more people will listen to your words as they're reading to them, because it is humor.
I have to
present it that way.
I have to tell you, Melissa, you are the only person I know who could write about a plane crash and make it funny.
Well, no, wait, this goes into a little history of The Right Closet. About 20 years ago, I was still in practice as a chiropractor, and I just was burning out at that moment. And my partner said to me, you are not allowed home until you have a plane reservation to someplace you like. So, and she said, you're going alone because you really need to regroup. I said, okay, I'm calling a timeout. And I found a quick trip for a week down to the Turks and Caicos. And I'm an ocean swimmer and a windsurfer. So my first day there, I take out a windsurf board and I go out into the ocean, and I sail it back right up onto the shore. And there's a guy standing there, middle-aged guy with his arms folded, and he's just watching me. And when I stepped off the board, he looked at me and said, that's the first time I've ever seen anybody able to go all the way out, all the way back, and not fall. So it turns out he and his wife and young adult children were vacationing, and he was a pilot for US Air. And so I used that opportunity to say to, and his name is Ken, and I said, Ken, listen, I've got this idea for a ditch in the ocean of an airliner. Can I somehow make that realistic? Could that happen? And he goes, I don't know. And at that moment, I said to myself, well, if he doesn't know, nobody will know. And I might as well just go ahead and take the artistic license and make it what I will.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so this is where Yoshiro becomes quite interesting, because it turns out in the other side of their life, they are actually a fairly heroic Navy person.
Macho.
Very macho. And they become the hero of the plane wreck. And we don't want to give away too much, folks, but the last person that gets rescued is the villain, as it were, of the piece. And in a lot of ways, it's the story, even though we have this Shiro, the real center of the novel is the villain, because what happens, that person's journey. And all I have to point is that the journey is kind of the antithesis of what was going on in this country between 1816, 2016, 2016.
200 years.
I feel like we went so far back.
It could be, Ben.
It's the antithesis, because we have the country reverting back to the, I can see the Puritans voting, and this person is going on a journey of self-discovery, thanks to Crema. And
that's why she's Crema la crop.
Yeah, and this is really a delightful romp.
Fun characters.
Yeah, and there are some other great characters. There is a woman who cares deeply about Crema, and she goes to find her friend. She doesn't believe that.
Well, she's a bounced out former newscaster, and not only is Crema her best friend, but as a gay woman, and him being a gay man, their connection was so important to me to bring to light, because there is this distinction, even in some parts of the gay community, that operate on that gay men and gay women live in separate universes under a larger umbrella. And the truth is that in most lives, no matter what people's orientation is, they have friends of all different stripes, different religions, different colors, different orientations. And I really wanted to paint that closeness, that familial connection, because all too often, a lot of gay people are kind of on the outskirts of their families. And it was another way of showing the cohesiveness of family within the LGBTQ community.
Well, I'm a great believer, as you know, Melissa, in the idea that there's family biological, and then there's family of choice. And in my mind, family of choice is much more important. The people that we care about and who fill our lives with joy and excitement. Now they can overlap.
Sure, of course.
But the family of choice, the one that we bring into our hearts, is really what counts. And this is very much a novel about people opening their hearts and connecting. And so underneath the humor, and again, I want folks, you're going to laugh reading this book. You're going to sit there reading it and laugh, but underneath that, you're going to feel connection.
And I love the way that you did this. A very difficult thing to do, to put really great meaning behind the humor and
Well,
do it correctly.
With the polarization increasing over time in our society, one of the things that I think has gotten really neglected in terms of focus is that, you know, you could have a friend or a family member who thinks or feels very opposite, and you kind of maintain that distance or that butting of heads at Thanksgiving dinner, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But taken a step deeper, if someone called you and said this person is catastrophically ill, for example, just as an example, would you continue that opposition, or would you drop it in that instant and say, hey, listen, I'm here for you, I love you? And that's something that's gotten so neglected. So in its seminal moment, its empirical value is in this book. If all bets were off, who would we be? If you didn't remember who you were supposed to hate, and then you met them tomorrow morning, and they didn't remember they were supposed to hate you either, where would you find yourselves? How would you navigate or negotiate that moment?
Okay. And by the way, folks, just so you understand,
feeling.
Amnesia does play a part, a very good part in the book. Again,
well, there's almost a role reversal.
But you folks, I will tell you, when you read it, you won't forget it. Okay, so again,
Thank you.
Well, Ken, the fact that you said you went back to the book to reread it, I don't know if you folks know this, but Ken reads a lot of books because he does not interview anyone unless he knows what their book is about.
Right.
For him to go back to one, it has to be sensational. It has to be great.
I'm honored. I'm totally honored.
Yeah, I would be too. I mean, he only read my book once.
That's not true, Monica. That is not true, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You happen to be two of my favorite people in the world and two of my favorite authors.
Okay. But it's, you know, it is always, always in my mind that Ken was the writer and reader long ago who, when I thought I had really nailed something, and I was so excited to run it by him, and he looked at me and said, you can do so much better than this.
And I have to say also, I compliment you on that because you care enough to give, excuse me, constructive criticism to people like Melissa and myself.
Well, there are people who I really feel their work is so important and so worth it that I do put the time and energy in. And so again, folks, today we're having the pleasure of talking with Melissa Price about her new book, The Right Closet, Politics Can Be a Drag. It's from Ella Books. It is a great read. It's and we are going to have in the description, of course, a link to it, as well as to Melissa's website, where you can catch up with her, and she shares some of her really great comments and ideas. It's you know.
Also on the whether a reader goes to bellabooks.com, or I think they can also get it on my website, where you can link to the excerpts. And that way you can browse through my 4 books and see if there's something that tickles your fancy.
Oh, absolutely. And
I loved all your books.
The nice thing,
thank you.
I can get, it doesn't matter what order you read them in, folks.
No.
Because Melissa's books, it's not like, you know, a sequence of, it's each one is a great independent standalone book. And they just, you know, the only thing I will say, I do believe Melissa, that as you have been writing, you're getting better. So
Well,
I'm
I
waiting
hope
for
so.
number 5.
I hope so. You know, I'm working on the teleplay adaptation for The Right Closet.
Oh,
And I have the pilot episode and
Mhm.
I have the climax, the big reveal.
Mhm.
But right in the middle of doing that, a new spy novel came into my head. And
Do you hate that?
I'm
Those
absolutely,
muses.
I'm convinced it happened because of my location right now, being in the Pacific Northwest. It is the perfect setting. There are so many incursion points, FBI, CIA, if you're listening. It's all fiction, but yeah, or, wait a minute, or not, but I don't know. There might be another spy novel forthcoming.
okay. I'll read it.
I will too.
Yeah, I just have to write. No, actually, I've got tons of notes on it, and I could not take a ferry here without it,
Oh,
without me looking around the boat and going, so I drove my car onto the boat. What's to stop me from just walking off the ferry? That it's all those really rich regional things that are up here. It's fabulous.
I have to tell you, Melissa, the only way I haven't spent a lot of time in that area, but when we were in Seattle, the only thing that kept me from going into very dark places like that was Theo's chocolate.
Do you have an address?
I don't know what they're like now, but when we were there, they used to have, you walked into the store and they had samples of every conceivable chocolate they had, and you could just gorge.
That would be my go-to place.
Russ.
I'll make a note of that.
Theo. And I don't know what the setup is now, but yeah, and I mean, that's why people drink so much coffee there. It is so, what in New England we call Lowry. That's the term for the weather there, Lowry. And you just get depressed and you start thinking these dark thoughts and you wonder if there's a serial killer around that bush.
Another book.
After all my years in Arizona, I actually am resting so much more deeply in the mornings because they're so dark.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that feeling. So while people here, I think, there is that seasonal affectation disorder here.
Yeah.
Largely. But, you take your vitamin D and bundle up and go out for a walk anyway, because it is just the most beautiful place. I've been walking a lot. I think this next spy novel, that the incursion point is the Port of Edmonds, and it is just, no matter what the weather is, I walk the marina and I see seals and it's just cool. It's a beautiful place.
Well, with that thought, again, Melissa, I want to thank you for joining Monica and myself. And Monica is going to have this up, and we're going to have those links and the trailer for your Smile number 7. And I'm really looking forward to book number 5. So,
well, the one thing we didn't cover that I think is so important with what's going on right now in our country and our world, this book, I started writing these characters 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having to go to my office on snowy nights at 2 a.m. to use the internet on a dial-up to do my research on the far right and look at what it has become since then. So when I originally wrote, as a non-published author at that time, my writing was, it had a lot of need, I'll just put it that way. you know, like you said, Ken, you hope to get better the more you do it. And so I had the characters researched, the issues researched, and in 2005, I submitted that book to Bella Books and did not remember that until I packed up my gear in Phoenix last year and I found the rejection letter for it.
Mhm.
That's how much even gay publishing has grown, that our inclusiveness is so much more. But when I originally wrote some of the themes and issues in the book, we as a society had tackled most of those one by one over the ensuing decade.
Yeah.
And so that book got buried in a drawer. And with each right that came for the LGBT community, that book got buried deeper and deeper. And then 2016 happened. And the distinction that I make is that in the original story, we were fighting for equal rights.
Mm-hmm.
But in this story, you know, first we were fighting to gain them. But in this retool of the entire book, we were fighting to not lose them.
Right.
And that became a really great, you know, center pole to keep revolving around.
I think it makes it a more effective pole dance, if you will.
Yes, which goes back to Skin in the Game, where all the pole dancing
Which
happens.
goes back to
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today,
Thanks,
Melissa.
guys.
Thank
It's
you.
great to
Bye-bye.
be
Take
with you.
care.
Writings, Chats, and Friends.
I miss you guys. All right, everybody stay safe and well.
Okay,
And
and we're
happy
gonna
holidays.
play
holidays,
your
whatever you
trailer
celebrate.
next.
Okay,
Okay,
sounds
here you
great.
go, folks. Bye,
All
Melissa.
righty. Bye, guys.